their parents are paying for the weddings.
They pay for that whole wedding.
Right? Their parents are paying for the weddings. Their parents are paying for their first car. Their parents are paying, like, sometimes...
They're giving down payments for their home.
Down payments for the house.
Because a lot of examples that we have in the Black community of marriage, they're not good ones. And in a lot of those examples of marriage that are not that great, the woman's getting the short end of the stick.
Like, most people that are not married is because they're afraid of commitment. It's not that like that for me. It's just the whole time I wanted to be married, I had kids, so...
Katt Williams has built a life that stands out in more ways than one. Despite being worth millions, the comedian has never married. Instead, he says his biggest commitment has always been to his family. Williams is the father of 10 children, including 7 he adopted. During a conversation with Shannon Sharpe, he explained why marriage has never been part of his journey. According to Williams, it isn't because he fears commitment. He says he devoted so much of his time and energy to raising his children that he couldn't also be the husband he believed a wife deserved.
Try to fill my wife's place before she got there. So I'm already got kids without a mother, but so now I got to be doing laundry. I'm washing dishes. I'm reading stories. I'm having to nurture. I'm having to do all of this, and I got to the point where I didn't need the wife. I'm doing it, and we're doing it, and I'm not replacing a woman in their lives. I'm letting them see that that's just the only thing that we don't have.
In a surprising comment, Williams even claimed he had already taken on many of the responsibilities people traditionally associate with a wife before anyone else had the chance to fill that role. Katt Williams' perspective has also sparked a wider conversation about marriage and relationships among Black men in America. While Williams says he chose to remain unmarried so he could focus on raising his children, many argue that his circumstances are far from typical. At the center of the debate is another controversial claim often shared on social media. Some Black men say they want to get married, but believe they struggle to find a compatible partner, with some describing Black women as too masculine or toxic. Those views remain highly debated and are strongly challenged by many others, making the topic one of the most divisive discussions surrounding modern relationships. The discussion doesn't end with Katt Williams' personal choices. Across podcasts, street interviews, and social media, the conversation quickly expands into a much bigger debate about relationships within the Black community. Some commentators argue that shifting family dynamics and changing gender roles have made it harder for many Black men and women to build lasting relationships. One interviewee claimed that Black communities have become increasingly centered around women, arguing that this has contributed to challenges facing families and relationships.
The Black community is a matriarchy. It has been for a very long time, and that is why it is so dysfunctional and that it does not work. When you think about it, the Black community is completely run by dominant masculine women. The biggest leaders are women. Everything in the Black community is set up to uplift, elevate, and empower women.
Those views are controversial and are widely disputed by others who point to broader economic, historical, and social factors instead.
The Democrat Party, which is, that's the party for Black people. That's where all the Black people are. They're the ones that are telling you to vote for them, or else Republicans are going to put you back in slavery or something like that. That is run and dominated by Black women. So the Black community is matriarchy. It's the reason that it's not working, and it's the reason that they're losing.
Surprisingly, the criticism isn't coming from just one side.
I think the reason why Black men date outside of their race is because they want to be loved and catered to. And imagine coming from a household where they have a toxic mother, and then they date a Black woman who's a toxic Black woman who reminds them of their mother. I wouldn't want that. I'm dating outside of that. I want to be better than that. Does that make sense? And not to attack y'all, but you guys don't listen to understand. You listen to argue. You listen to pick. You guys are not open-minded all the time, and not all...
Some women interviewed said they believe certain Black men look for partners outside their race because they feel they will receive more support or appreciation elsewhere. Others argued that negative childhood experiences can shape the type of relationships people pursue as adults. At the same time, several women interviewed placed the responsibility on Black men, describing them as unfaithful or saying they simply did not meet their expectations.
What's your favorite thing about Black men?
Nothing. Black men suck.
They're
bad. They cheat. They don't care. I'm with the white boys.
What's your favorite thing about Black men?
Nothing.
Why is that?
I don't like Black men. Not very many meet my standards.
What's your favorite thing about Black men?
Nothing.
The interviews revealed just how divided opinions have become, with both men and women expressing frustration and blaming each other for the growing disconnect in modern dating. With so many accusations being exchanged, one question stands out. Is anyone actually listening to the other side? That was one of the points Shannon Sharpe raised when he asked Katt Williams how people should deal with toxic relationships.
I'd rather skydive with her. But if you have toxic women, just understand that all monsters are feeding off of something. And if you find out what this toxic woman is feeding off of, you can just begin to turn off her feeding points. And it drives a toxic person crazy, and they'll get away from you. So whatever, if she's truly toxic, there are certain things that she's doing that help fuel her toxicity. You're not noticing it, but it's what it is.
Williams's response caught attention for its directness. He argued that people should take responsibility for the relationships they choose to remain in, saying, "Look, if you've got a toxic woman in your life, that's on you because toxicity needs to be fed." He added, "They can't eat what you don't feed them," suggesting that unhealthy behavior only continues when it is tolerated or encouraged. Williams's message goes beyond simply avoiding toxic relationships. His argument is that if someone repeatedly finds themselves in unhealthy relationships, it's worth asking why that pattern keeps happening. In his view, toxic behavior doesn't thrive on its own. It often depends on the attention, conflict, financial support, or emotional investment that others continue to provide. That perspective also reflects Williams' own life choices. Despite his success and wealth, he chose not to marry, not because he says all women are toxic, but because he believed that path wasn't right for him. He has said he knew what he wanted and made a deliberate decision to prioritize raising his children instead. But Williams's experience is only one part of a much larger story. Research shows that black men in the United States are consistently less likely to marry than white men across nearly every age group and education level. Among men aged 35 to 39 with a high school education or less, 57% of black men had never married, compared with 40% of white men. The gap continues across other age and education groups, suggesting that the reasons extend beyond personal commitment and involve broader economic, cultural, and social factors. That raises another important question. What pressures are shaping these decisions? One young man argues that financial expectations place a heavier burden on many black men, offering his perspective on why marriage can feel like a more difficult goal to reach.
You think about getting married, you think about you're going to carry the weight of this marriage. And then you start looking at the numbers. And how much things cost. And that could stop anybody in their tracks.
Hold on. Hold on, Slim.
Right? And because then you're forced to make a decision. All right, but what if we just go ahead and pay the $75 or $150 to go down to the courthouse, get this done? But
she doesn't see that.
She don't want that.
Exactly.
She's like, nah, I want the big thing. I want the full shebang. And he realizes, well, I'm not in position to give you what you want because that right there is going to cost us a lot. But what if we just did this, delayed gratification? But it's the thought that, no, I'm not willing to settle on that causes a man to say, you know what? That's how you feel?
That's so good.
We'll rock with that.
Katt Williams' experience is far from typical. While he had the financial freedom to make personal choices about marriage and family, many black men face very different circumstances that can shape those decisions long before they begin thinking about settling down. Long-term research points to the importance of economic stability. A Harvard study examining marriage trends between 1960 and 2019 found that, during much of the 20th century, black men with similar income, education, and employment levels as white men actually married at higher rates. The findings suggest that the desire to marry has not simply disappeared. Instead, researchers argue that stable employment, reliable income, and other economic opportunities play a major role in making marriage more attainable. Other studies reach a similar conclusion. Research from the University of Cambridge found that economic hardship and incarceration account for a large share of the racial gap in marriage rates. According to the study, when fewer men have access to stable jobs or become involved with the criminal justice system, the number of people in a position to realistically support a family declines, and marriage rates tend to fall as a result. Another factor frequently raised by researchers is the impact of incarceration and long-term economic inequality. The United States has one of the world's highest incarceration rates, and black men are imprisoned at significantly higher rates than white men. Some estimates suggest that black boys face a much greater lifetime likelihood of incarceration than their white peers, highlighting the scale of the disparity. The effects often extend well beyond time spent in prison. A criminal record can create lasting barriers to employment, housing, and access to credit, making it much more difficult for someone to achieve the financial stability that many people consider important before getting married or starting a family. Economic challenges also play a major role. For decades, Black Americans have experienced higher unemployment rates than white Americans, and research shows those differences often remain even after accounting for education. Studies have found that Black men with college degrees can still face higher unemployment than white men with similar qualifications. Together, these factors have led many researchers to conclude that economic opportunity and involvement with the criminal justice system are key influences on long-term marriage trends. Taken together, the research points to a more complicated picture than simply asking whether Black men want to get married. Many experts argue that economic stability, employment opportunities, and broader social conditions all play a significant role in whether marriage feels achievable. That has shifted the conversation from individual choices to the structural challenges that can make long-term family stability more difficult to build. Katt Williams has also weighed in on the broader issue of racial inequality. During past interviews, he argued that if America wants to move beyond the ongoing debate over racism, it should first address its historical legacy through reparations. His comments remain controversial and continue to spark debate, adding another layer to the wider discussion surrounding race, opportunity, and inequality in the United States. Williams expanded on that argument, saying the country has the financial resources to address long-standing racial inequalities if it chooses to. He argued that reparations would be a meaningful step toward confronting America's history of racism. His comments have generated significant debate, with supporters and critics continuing to disagree over the issue. Regardless of where people stand on reparations, the broader discussion about marriage remains complex. Research shows that Black men are less likely to marry than their white counterparts, and many experts point to economic challenges, employment opportunities, and the criminal justice system as major factors influencing those outcomes. Even so, the story doesn't end there. Across the country, many Black men continue to build strong families, honor their commitments, and remain active fathers despite facing significant obstacles. Their experiences serve as a reminder that while larger social and economic forces can shape opportunities, individual choices and perseverance also play an important role in building stable families and stronger communities. The conversation surrounding Katt Williams's comments highlights a much broader debate about marriage, family, and opportunity in America.
It is now time for Black people in America to get paid reparations for what they and their ancestors have been through in American history. Look at the white people.
His personal story is unusual, but the issues it has sparked extend far beyond one celebrity's life. As the data shows, personal decisions do not exist in a vacuum. Economic conditions, family experiences, cultural expectations, and public policy can all influence the choices people make. At the same time, every individual has a different story, and no single explanation can account for everyone's experience. The debate continues to generate different interpretations, with ongoing discussion about how much weight should be given to individual responsibility versus broader structural factors, and how these influences interact in shaping outcomes across different communities. Now I'd like to hear from you. After everything you've heard, the personal experiences, the interviews, and the research, where do you stand on this debate? Do you believe the biggest barriers to marriage are personal choices, economic challenges, or a combination of both? Do you agree with Katt Williams' view that staying in a toxic relationship ultimately comes down to the choices we make? And why do you think marriage rates among Black men continue to differ from other groups? Share your perspective in the comments below and join the conversation. If you found this report informative, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who would be interested in the discussion. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.